On this day in history, November 15th. The historic meeting on November 15, 1532, marked the first encounter between Spanish conquistadors and the Incan Emperor Atahualpa. Pizarro's forces, led by Hernando de Soto, arranged a meeting for the following day in Cajamarca's Plaza. This meeting would lead to one of the most significant confrontations between European and Native American civilizations. Lieutenant Zebulon Pike first spotted the mountain peak on November 15, 1806, that would later bear his name during his exploration of the Colorado Territory. The mountain, reaching 14,115 feet, 4,302 meters, would become one of Colorado's most iconic landmarks. Pike himself never actually climbed the peak he discovered. A group of enslaved people in the Cherokee Nation launched a significant revolt against their captors on November 15, 1842. The revolt highlighted the complex relationship between Native American tribes and the institution of slavery. This event demonstrated how slavery existed not only in the American South, but also within Native American territories. The Berlin Conference began on November 15, 1884, bringing together European powers to establish rules for colonizing Africa. The conference, hosted by Otto von Bismarck, would continue until February 1885. This meeting effectively formalized the scramble for Africa and established guidelines for European colonial expansion. The League of Nations held its first assembly in Geneva on November 15, 1920, marking the beginning of the first worldwide intergovernmental organization. The assembly brought together representatives from 42 nations. This historic gathering represented humanity's first organized attempt at global governance. The Free City of Danzig was established as a semi-autonomous city-state under League of Nations protection on November 15, 1920. This unique political entity was created by the Treaty of Versailles to give Poland access to a deep-water port. The city's special status would last until Nazi Germany's invasion in 1939. The Battle of Guadalcanal concluded on November 15, 1942, with a decisive Allied victory after 6 months of fierce fighting. This battle marked a turning point in the Pacific War, preventing Japan from threatening Allied sea supply lines to Australia. The victory cost Japan numerous ships, aircraft, and irreplaceable veteran troops. Heinrich Himmler issued his notorious order on November 15, 1943, equating the treatment of Roma and Sinti people with that of Jews. This directive formalized the Nazi genocide against the Roma people. The order led to increased deportations of Roma to concentration camps. The St. Petersburg Metro, then Leningrad Metro, opened its first line on November 15, 1955, marking a significant milestone in Soviet urban development. The initial line ran from Avtovo to Ploshchad Vostania. The metro system would become one of the deepest subway systems in the world. The short Solent 3 aircraft crashed near Chesil, marking a tragic aviation incident. This flying boat crash on November 15, 1957, became a significant event in aviation history. The incident led to investigations and subsequent safety improvements. Craig Breedlove set an incredible land speed record at the Bonneville Salt Flats in his jet-powered car. His Spirit of America reached a speed of 600.601 miles per hour on November 15, 1965, breaking previous records. This achievement represented a milestone in land speed racing history. Gemini 12, crewed by James Lovell and Buzz Aldrin, successfully completed its mission with a splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean on November 15, 1966. The mission demonstrated that astronauts could effectively work outside a spacecraft, solving problems that had plagued previous spacewalks. This final Gemini flight successfully achieved all its objectives, paving the way for the Apollo program. Air Force test pilot Michael J. Adams lost his life in the only fatal accident of the X-15 program. His aircraft was destroyed mid-air over the Mojave Desert during its 191st flight on November 15, 1967. The accident led to significant changes in the X-15 program safety protocols. Intel released the 4004 on November 15, 1971, revolutionizing computing as the world's first commercial single-chip microprocessor. The chip contained 2,300 transistors and could perform up to 60,000 operations per second. This innovation laid the groundwork for the modern computer era. A package sent by the Unabomber began smoking in an American Airlines flight's cargo hold on November 15, 1979. The emergency forced the plane to land, but no one was injured. This incident was one of many in Ted Kaczynski's campaign of terror. The Soviet space shuttle Buran made its first and only spaceflight on November 15, 1988. The unmanned craft completed 2 orbits around Earth before landing automatically. Despite its successful flight, the program was canceled due to high costs and the Soviet Union's dissolution. The Palestinian National Council proclaimed an independent state of Palestine on November 15, 1988. The declaration was made by Yasser Arafat from Algeria. This proclamation received recognition from many countries but did not immediately lead to practical independence. The Max Havelaar label launched in the Netherlands on November 15, 1988, marking the birth of the modern fair trade certification system. This initiative aimed to ensure better prices and working conditions for farmers in developing countries. The label would become a model for fair trade certification worldwide. The People's Republic of Bulgaria transitioned from a communist state to a new republican government on November 15, 1990. This dramatic political shift occurred peacefully, marking the end of over 4 decades of communist rule in the country. The change was part of the broader democratic transformations sweeping Eastern Europe at the time. On November 15, 2001, Microsoft launched the Xbox, its first home video game console. The system's powerful hardware and blockbuster launch title, Halo: Combat Evolved, made it a major competitor in the console market. The Xbox went on to establish Microsoft as a major player in the gaming industry. Hu Jintao became the new General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party and Chairman of the Central Military Commission on November 15, 2002. This marked the beginning of a new leadership team in China, including a new 7-member Politburo Standing Committee. The transition represented a gradual shift in power within the Chinese government. November 15, 2003 was the first day of the Istanbul bombings and saw 2 car bombs target synagogues, killing 25 people and injuring 300 more. This deadly terrorist attack was carried out by al-Qaeda-affiliated militants and represented one of the deadliest incidents in Turkey's recent history. Al Jazeera English launched as an international news channel on November 15, 2006, expanding the reach of the Qatar-based Al Jazeera media network. The new channel aimed to provide news reporting from a non-Western perspective, challenging the dominance of outlets like CNN and BBC. Cyclone Sidr struck Bangladesh on November 15, 2007, causing catastrophic damage and loss of life. The storm killed an estimated 5,000 people and devastated the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest. This natural disaster highlighted the vulnerability of Bangladesh to climate-related events. Xi Jinping took over as the new General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party on November 15, 2012, leading a new 7-member Politburo Standing Committee. This changing of the guard represented a significant political transition in China. Under Xi's leadership, the country would see a shift towards greater authoritarianism and global assertiveness. Lewis Hamilton won the Turkish Grand Prix on November 15, 2020, securing his 7th Formula One drivers' title and equaling the all-time record held by Michael Schumacher. This historic achievement cemented Hamilton's status as one of the greatest racing drivers of all time. The world population reached 8 billion people, reflecting ongoing global population growth on November 15, 2022. This milestone highlighted the challenges humanity faces in providing for an expanding global population, including issues related to resources, climate change, and sustainable development. Thank you most sincerely for your time and attention. If you found this presentation enlightening, I encourage you to share it with others, express your appreciation with a like, and consider subscribing for future content. I look forward to your company in the next installment.